Welcome to Professionals and Coffee, a volunteer collective that boasts the professional profiles of public relations practitioners through virtual coffee chats. My name is Carolina Salinas, and I'm the founder and project manager of Professionals and Coffee. And today, I'm so excited to have Carrie Edgar, Director of Social Media for RBC. And as our interviewer of Professionals and Coffee, we have Sachi, an international student from the PR Postgraduate Certificate from Seneca College. Welcome, both of you, to Professionals and Coffee, and I will now turn over the microphone. It is all yours, Sachi.
Thank you so much, Carolina. I would like to start by introducing Gary. Gary Edgar works as a social media director at RBC, where he oversees social media professionals, manages the paid and organic social marketing in the biggest financial services brand in Canada. He holds 15 years of experience in digital and social media content. He has done media studies at Niagara College, Toronto, and he has experience with various big brands such as Facebook, Canadian Tire, Nike, and Walmart. He worked with several media companies that includes Ruckus Digital, with which he worked for 5 years, first as the managing director and then as vice president of creative and strategy. So shall we begin the interview now?
Sure, sounds great.
Yeah, so my first question is, I would like to start by asking you, how do you view the significant transition in social media over 2 decades since you graduated, because you graduated in 2002?
Yeah, I mean, it went from not existing to, it's almost like, the old adage of like a lobster in a pot where you bring the boiling like up to it at a slow degree, so they don't actually know they're being boiled. That's sort of how I feel like with social media. Is like I was there before it existed, and now I look back at it and it's like, what a dramatic change. But it's going all over all of these years. It was so iterative. The change is constantly happening, so I wasn't quite aware of just how seismic the changes have been. But I think back to it's so it's just part of our lives right now, right? It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's in the vernacular. If I say I saw something on TikTok, everybody knows that reference. Nobody's sort of scratching their head. But you go back to, I think, 2006, 2007, and you're talking about things like Twitter and, getting on Facebook, and people are like, what? And like MySpace, even if you go back far enough, where people are like, what is that? Like, and certainly they weren't thinking about how you could market a brand on any of those channels at the time. It was purely talking about, ways to communicate with people and ways to talk to and reach out and share like-minded thoughts with other people around the world. And so it started with great intentions. I don't know if we've kind of seen those intentions through, but it is what it is, I guess.
It particularly changed after the COVID came and everything went digital. So. Oh
yeah, I mean, realistically, can you imagine what the last 2 years would have been like if we hadn't had social media, or even hadn't had sort of like internet as freely accessible as we do now? It would have been pretty interesting, I guess. Very different.
So my next question is, how do you cope up with the ever-changing trends in social media?
It's challenging, I'll be honest with you. I think we at RBC right now, we have a mandate to try to stay ahead of not just our competitors, but to sort of challenge ourselves to be as forward thinking and forward looking as possible, to try to be as bleeding edge as we can be for a financial institution. I think one of the ways to stay ahead of it is you are on the channels, you exist on them. So you're, whether you like it or not, you're in them every single day. And so really, the best way, I suppose, is to really experience them, see them through the eyes of the people that are using it. Luckily I have a team of very, very smart, very, very capable people who work with me. who are of spectrum of ages. You know, I would say that I'm an outlier at my age with social media. Certainly, I have a lot of people that I work with who understand, you know, the lens of a social media person. You know, someone who's 20 something and looking at social media. What are they looking for? How do they react with it? Interact with it? Certainly different from the way I do. And so it's certainly just surrounding yourself with very smart people is one way to do it, I'd say.
And also keep an eye on the competitors.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I think what I like to, you know, I look at our competitive set and I think it's challenging sometimes to, you know, I don't mean to sound sort of, you know, big-headed about it, but I think our brand is just naturally ahead of a lot of the other financial institutions when it comes to forward thinking and social media and things and marketing, you know, different types of new and innovative marketing. So, you know, I would challenge our teams to sort of look at, you know, what are our other big brands nationally doing? You know, how do we measure ourselves against the biggest brands in Canada? And you know, are we competitive with them in the zeitgeist, in the culture? So that's one thing that we're trying desperately to stay ahead of. So
All right. So my next question is, I read that you owned a company named Brewing back in 2009. What was the thought behind it, and is it still in operation?
no, it's short-lived. So that's two companies that I've started, two communications. I started a company called Rebel Communications and East End Digital. Both sort of, you know, that entrepreneurial spirit, trying to do what I loved, which was, you know, I hate to choose between being creative and being strategic and doing. And so I like to be in all of those things. That sort of lent itself to, I could do all of these things. And, you know, and I applaud people who are real entrepreneurs who stick with it and who have the wherewithal through the really lean times to keep going, because I personally, it was too stressful and there was too many things that took me away from the actual stuff that I loved. You know, there's lots of paperwork and administrative stuff that it's not fun for me. So I ended up giving up on both ventures. But yeah, big props to people who are the real entrepreneurs out there.
It was a big time opportunity and a real experience, right? Owning a company, it's big in itself.
It's huge. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And so I have such admiration for people who make a real go of it and can make something. You know, I think there was like in the last couple of years, especially during COVID, I feel like everybody was like, start your own business, do your own thing, start your own business. And it's really romantic to think about, but it's really hard work to do. You have to be all of the things, right? You have to be the administrative person. You have to be the salesperson. You have to be the person who does the thing that you wanted to do in the first place. You have to know finances a little bit, marketing, like all of that stuff. You have to know it. And it's really, really hard. It's really time consuming. And it can take you away from a family too. Like I have, you know, a family, two boys, and, you know, just the idea of being out a lot or not being around them was more than I was willing to give up. So, you know, big, I have a lot of love for entrepreneurs in my heart, for sure.
My next question is, immigrants who are particularly new to the communication field may find it hard to navigate a job in Canadian job market. So what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, first off, like, you know, again, such a huge thing to come to another country and like take that on, and sometimes even where there could be a potential language barrier. It's so like it's terrifying. It's terrifying. So again, it's something that I have so much admiration for, and I can't even begin to imagine. I would say, you know, as far as marketing goes, I can't speak to other communities, I guess, but the marketing community in this area is a fairly tight knit one. Like it's a smallish one where people know each other and interact with each other a lot. You kind of come across the same people who know a lot of the same people. I think any opportunity you have to interact with them, get in front of them and just have a conversation with them. I'm always trying to make myself as accessible as possible to just have conversations to talk about, you know, what do you want to do? How do you want to get there? If I can make a connection and I can try and introduce two people together who hit it off and that's like the greatest thing. this whole thing was an interaction between people that I know, and other people. That's how the community works. And I think I've found for the most part that the marketing community is very supportive in the Toronto GTA area, and so they want to try and lift each other up and find opportunities. And I would just say, like, get yourself out there, try to meet people, try to connect with them. Don't always have an agenda necessarily. Like, obviously everybody wants a job. Obviously everybody's looking for an opportunity. But I would say if you go into these conversations as just that, with the kind of the job offer in the back of your mind and not at the forefront, A, you'll learn a lot. B, you'll probably ingratiate yourself to this person and really sort of like, oh, that was a great conversation. I really appreciated that. And then it's a slow burn, right? That stuff comes later. They'll be like, oh, you know what? I have somebody you should talk to. There's somebody I know that you should get in front of because they have a need for what you're doing. So I truly believe that there's some sort of, it levels itself out, I think, karmically.
I'm an immigrant myself. It's been 2 months. I landed in Canada, and trust me, it's overwhelming. Everything is overwhelming.
It must be terrifying. It must be like just completely, especially you came in like 2 months ago. It's like the coldest time of the year. It's not fun. I hate it. And I've lived here my entire life. So I applaud you for taking a very, very big step. So it's a big deal.
Thank you. So my next question is, how was your first job experience as communication specialist, and what impact did it have on your future endeavors?
Sorry, what was my first year like?
Yeah, first job.
My first job.
Experience.
Yeah, it was, I worked for Manulife pretty much out of school, and it was so formative. I was really lucky. I got sort of like in a time where there was a group of us who were all kind of the same age group and of the same mindset, and we kind of became really fast friends. And so we were like, we hung out together, we really bonded. And the boss I had, I think that's one thing that like has affected me throughout my entire career, is I had one of the greatest managers at the time, this woman named Melody Holmes. And she was so supportive and went to bat for the whole team and was just really encouraged our creativity and sort of like we wanted to try something different or new. She was always so supportive of it. And I really carried that through my entire career. And when I started managing people, I really tried my best to encourage people's, intuition and how they want to do things and how they want to approach a problem. I try not to inflict my views on them. And just sort of let them go, because it's so empowering and it really makes you feel like, holy cow, like this person trusts me. I feel like I'm making my way in the world. It's no small feat to feel like that, right?
That's really great. And the best part is you still remember the name of your manager. That means she was really great.
Oh yeah.
So this is a fun question. How does your typical day of work at RBC looks like? What are the challenges you face every day, and with managing a whole team of social media professionals?
It's the last 2 years it's been roll out of bed, come downstairs, get a coffee, fire up my laptop, and start a lot of meetings. Yeah, I hope that changes very soon. We're starting to go back to our offices soon. I think a typical day is atypical, which is the whole reason I love what I do. Honestly, it's so different from one day to the next. I have a very like an amazing team of just so smart people, and I'm so excited in the mornings to get back to them and interact with them and have fun with them. And I think that's the spirit of our team is very supportive and very laid back, and we try to have a good time and get the work done. And I feel like it's an environment where everybody feels like they are empowered to do the work that they want to do. Yeah, like a lot of meetings lately. I think that's just the nature of the world we live in right now, is a lot of interactions this way. One day I hope the three of us could sit in a room together and have a conversation as well, which would be fantastic. And it's just, it's kind of, like I said, it's very atypical, where it's like, I don't know, some days it's going to be talking about new platforms. Like we meet with our platform providers fairly regularly. So like had a meeting with TikTok today, met with Facebook yesterday. we're going to be with Snapchat next week. You know, we get to go to their offices again, which are very cool and very like fun, and the environment is cool. So like some days you're doing that, and other days you're in a meeting room all day. So it's really, it's a bit of everything, which again, I love. You know, some days you're filming content in a studio too. So it's pretty cool.
I can totally relate with the online stuff because we do have our classes online. It's tiring.
That again, that's got to be so challenging, right? It's just like staying dialed into a class environment like this all day, every day that's got to be really hard.
And it's almost been 3 years that you are working with RBC. How has been your experience so far?
I love it. It's honestly one of the best companies I've ever worked for. They are, you would imagine, I guess, maybe it was just me. I thought of working for a financial institution, or as, you know, like a bank would be like kind of, is this going to be boring? Like, what am I getting myself into? I'd worked for agencies before this for a long, long time, you know, where you're working on different clients and different work, and everything's changing, and it's so varied, and everything's so different types of work. So I was really I was hesitant, I should say, that I was like, oh, is this going to be a bad decision? But man, it is the best. It is like so fun. We get to do really cool stuff. They really push us to be bold and innovative and try new things and push the boundaries of what people perceive as a bank and how we interact with our customers and our potential customers. So I've had nothing but a blast for the last 3 years. It's one of the best places I've ever worked. So
that feels great to hear. So my next question is, what are some of the key skills that, according to you, that a social media professional must have in order to be one step ahead of the game?
I love a generalist. So and I'll explain that. I love somebody who, if I'm staffing a team and I'm trying to figure out like, who do I want in different roles? I love people who are good at pretty good at a couple of different things, right? It's nice to be really, really good at one thing, but I love the variability of having a couple of different people who know a bunch of the same stuff, and then I can let them run with their passions, right? So on my team now, people who are really into analytics and metrics, and they lean real hard into that. I have other people who are very much into the creative side of stuff, and they lean very hard into that. And so everybody can do the sort of baseline work, which is like making sure that the campaigns are running, you know, offering strategy to our clients, which are our internal partners, ensuring that the creative looks right, is functioning properly, is optimized for social media. And then we have wrap reports. Like, those are the sort of fundamentals, but the fact that everyone knows all of those fundamentals lets them run in different directions and run and do different things. So a generalist sort of approach to things. You don't have to be the best at all of this stuff, just pretty good at all. Like, spread yourself around, learn a bunch. And I'll tell you what, like, as far as careers go, it's really, really helpful to have your fingers in a bunch of different things. It's you know, it's just so much more fulfilling, and I opened yourself up to so many more options down the road. You'll probably change careers 4 or 5 times, and this really helps to you know, expedite that. Other than that, I think innovative spirit, somebody who's able to like come in and want to push boundaries, want to learn new things, want to like experience new things. Like, you know, like case point, we launched our TikTok channel last summer, and we started advertising on the channel June, July, I think it was. No one on my team had done any work on TikTok before because it had basically just launched. We were all learning together, and I think you need to be able to be like, well, we might make a mistake here, but that's okay. We're all supporting each other. So, you know, part of being innovative is allowing yourself to screw things up and not be like, put it behind you and be like, oh, let's move on. It's all good. We're all here to help. So, you know, short memories is very helpful as well.
These were some great tips. So my next question is, would you like to share some tips on successfully getting a communications job for someone who is transitioning from a literature field?
Yeah, I think, you know, from a communications perspective, I think everybody, it's a tough field, right? Like, I think what a communicator does has changed so dramatically in the last even 5-10 years, right? Like, with social media, like organic social media is not really a thing anymore. You can't make hay with it, really. The landscape of media publications is shrinking all the time. So getting like earned media is really hard as well. Making sure that you have those fundamental skills, but maybe like exploring, like I said a second ago, like new and innovative things, right? Like, so if you have sort of like your social media adjacent, you know, a little bit about social media, learn a little, lean a little harder into that, learn more, understand what like a paid social media campaign looks like. You know, you don't have to go deep, but just like figure it out a little bit, but like diversify yourself and offer something beyond sort of like that typical communications background. I think really helps. It'll really help you sort of stand out on a page, stand out in an interview when you're looking for a role. It's just generally very helpful to see like, wow, this person could be so many more things, you know, than just writing press releases. That's very dismissive, and I don't mean it to sound like that, but I think just you know, making yourself as appealing as possible with a varied sort of approach to things.
And curiosity does help always.
Oh yeah, like that is probably one of the top things, is like learn all of the things. And that's really, if you've gone to school for a bunch of years, you're like, well, I just learned all this, now you're gonna tell me to go learn more. What I would say is like, you don't have to go deep and understand. You don't have to get a master's in all of those things, right? To your point, is try to be as curious as possible. How does that work? You know, like what's like, why is that the way people are doing it right now? Read a couple articles and you'll find out, right? It's not a question of like, you have to go back to school or something like that.
Definitely. So does RBC provide any internship opportunities in the field of social media?
We have had a few. So lately we've had 3 students now very successfully from, I think, Ryerson. We brought a couple of students in from Ryerson. It was a good experience. And then we've also had a couple of students in from other, I think we have a more generic call for interns that come through. And if you want to be a marketing intern, you can go to a certain stream and other things like that, finance. And then we also have some really cool programs set up with different schools where you actually do like a rotation around a bunch of different areas of the bank. So like you spend 3 months doing, or a month doing, you know, marketing, and then you go over here and you do a month with our real estate people, or you do, so you get like it's kind of an interesting program. So sadly, I don't really know too much about them. But yeah, we definitely do. Where we're at with those, I couldn't honestly tell you though.
That was such a great advice. And thank you so much, Gary, for your time, knowledge, and advice. This has been a very informative session. And I hope you had a great time as well. I'll pass it on to Carolina now.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed your coffee chat. Thank you, Gary, for your guidance. And Sachi, you did an excellent job. Congratulations. Are there any social media handles that you, Gary, and Sachi would like to share with our audience? Where can we find you?
Yes, I did send Gary a LinkedIn request. It's with the name Sachi Bajaj. And I would really, really appreciate if you could put up a recommendation on my profile.
I would, absolutely. Yeah, I don't, this is going to come as a shock to a lot of people. I don't use social media very much to post on. So sadly, you'll see very few things coming out of my social media accounts because I guess because I do social media all day, I'm less inclined to want to post things, but I am on social media quite a bit, obviously ingesting lots and lots of stuff. So, but yes, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I will definitely accept any kind of connection requests and beyond. So yeah, if you want to hit me up, Gary Edgar on LinkedIn, I'm there.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and see you on the next Professionals and Coffee Chat. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media platforms, which are in the description below this video. And please join us to do your own virtual coffee chat like Sachi just did today. Thank you and bye-bye.